run by Alt University, the two of us running, and we focus on bringing innovative Windows Phone applications.
Oh, if you don't mind, could you make some small introduction of the program at campus?
Yeah, totally. Oh, with the slides?
Yeah. How much time?
But I think that the teams will be tomorrow at Up Campus event, and they can hear. So we can skip this part at this moment.
А что, завтра уезжать в субботу, если...
Нет, я имею в виду, что завтра вечером. Мы просыпаемся часов 9, а в чем послушали, а потом домой едешь. И вот ты приезжаешь домой, что дома делаешь? Спать уже ложишься. Поэтому я говорю, что завтра вечером.
Maybe you tell me when we can start.
Start.
Oh, were we waiting for some other teams?
Yeah, one second.
Yeah, then meanwhile I can, actually what I would like to listen is that you guys from Chelny, what are you guys working on? What's your startup about?
Yeah, we're working on a mobile system which consists of the mobile application, also server side, and some integration with accounting systems of some different, like, okay, I'm starting from the beginning.
That would be good.
Yeah, we're a company that have the service for the companies who are wholesale traders. So they have trade agents who are moving through trade points, and they collect orders.
Yes.
Usually they do it in a papers, just sign this, and
Yes.
so we produce the system for them, so they can have a mobile application, Android application, and use it to collect orders and to other stuff, what they need. And all this information goes to our server side, and also it integrates with their accounting system, so they can like do all the stuff they need. And so that's actually what we do.
Okay. What about the other teams?
I'm representing 11, Project 11. What we do is we created an application that does voice to text plugin for Skype.
Voice to text plugin for Skype, yeah. Web browser.
Actually, it's an application that you have to install, and then you will see that
Yeah.
your voice conversations are turned to text. And then you can see it's really nice and clear.
Yes. Okay. And you developed the technology to do that?
We developed actually an application that does kind of Skype, and then you Google voice recognition.
Okay, so you don't own the technology, you do the application layer on that one. Okay. So no IP.
Currently we are
Yeah, not on there. Utility. Yeah. Cool.
we are trying to improve the voice recognition, maybe change vendor or something.
Yes.
We have mobile application.
Any other case? Yeah.
We do web series for automatization tax park.
Sorry, say it again. Say it again.
We do web series for automatization tax park, taxi.
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 Okay. Booking and scheduling and paying.
Заказ,
Заказывается, оплата.
заказы оплачивают.
Автоматизation их структура, внутренний процесс.
Yes, some internal process within the company,
Inner.
like
Okay, inside.
who own the taxi.
Okay, not to capture orders and schedule. It's more for internal admin.
Yeah, for business.
Okay, that's a twist. Normally everybody does booking. You do the different. Okay? Yeah. Any other? Yeah?
Bad English.
It's okay, mine is bad.
We do mobile application for tourists. When you travel in our country, cities, you maybe won't know that this building, you know that this history in this object. We даем. We give возможность прослушать, to listen in voice. Он сказал.
Okay, record that, yeah.
No,
all right.
record that. And we localization in our other languages. In other languages. Мы даем возможность прослушать о конкретном объекте, о конкретном здании, его историю, понять, где мы находимся, ну и так далее. Тем самым построить туристический маршрут, найти какие-то интересные места. Давайте. Теперь ваша очередь.
Yes, I need to practice more.
Mobile application that does record the track, and then people share the voice tags on the current place.
Yeah.
And then you can listen, the other customer can listen to this voice tags on the current place.
Yeah.
So,
All around the world.
Foursquare and not only check-in.
Yeah.
Вот
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Any other one?
We developed the voting web service.
Say it again.
Voting.
Waiting.
Нет, vote.
Vote. Oh, vote. Yes.
Voting. Да, vote. Service which основанный based on game playing, игровые механики. Gamification.
Games. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Cool. Can you do me a favor? Bring the whiteboard here. Whiteboard? Yeah. Do you need that? Yeah, I think it's good. Bring it as it is. That's already written. Yeah. Okay, so. Yeah. All right. Hey guys, so today I'm going to do a little, since you guys new here, I'm going to give you 30 seconds of work on what we did yesterday. It was about presentation. But while he brings here the board, how many of you have been working with the business model canvas or looking at the customer development so far? Good? Okay, so already somewhere. I mean, the main concept today was to go through that one. What we tried to do is that maybe we tried to do it as interactive as possible. So instead of just letting me blah, blah, blah for a couple of hours, I suggest that let's discuss as much as possible about your case, okay? So that once we go through step by step, we discuss about what's your case, what do you think is okay, what do you think is could be improvable, what are your doubts we can discuss. The other thing is actually, when thinking about a business model canvas from Eric, they've done a new version every week. Which version have you used? Which version have you used?
I don't know which version is it, but the version which iSpark sends to startups. They have this version in standard application for iSpark residents.
Okay, so now what I'll do is that let's do like this.
Like that, yes. Really.
Well, like that one, but there are several different versions. So I don't know which is the version officially used. So I gave you one version. It's not the latest one for sure. You can use this one unless you have a better one. If you have a better one, you use the better one. And you can pull it up. Meanwhile, the new guys, you guys maybe have a pretty, you might have actually pretty cool startups you're working on. But your presentation in English and everything was pretty lousy. And it's okay, no problem if it's the language. It's good. It's always better in my Russian, so no problem with that one. But I think that maybe one little trick that is kind of like, you know, the 2 minutes from what we did yesterday about presenting. You might want to have a ready-made, memorized phrase to explain what are you doing in 20 seconds, 30 seconds, so in one phrase. Okay. So what I suggest you guys to do is actually that there is this guy called Borella that is actually the founder of the Founder Institute. There is like a startup school based in US, and they have 50 chapters all over the world. They're opening one even in Moscow, I think, soon. And what he does is actually, he proposed a kind of like stupid template to use to explain what you're doing, what's your startup about. So I suggested to use that one as well. You just fill it in with your own case.
What's his name?
Borella. It's a bald guy. Copy. From Founder Institute. We work together with them as well as our campus. But basically what he did is something very stupid. It's a very simple template, but it's easy then to use to quickly communicate something, unless you have a better one. So what he says is that basically, my company, and then you say, what's your company name? Is developing, and what's your product? But don't tell me I don't know, software, because that's too generic. You need to be a little more precise is what he's doing. Like, you know, admin service, or you know, back office admin and efficiency service or something like that one. And to help, and then you say here, who's your target audience? So who are your your customers? And then you tell me here, what are you really helping to? Which is the problem you're solving? So for instance, it could be, I don't know, bringing, you know, getting rid of the mess in the back office of the taxi services, or something else. If it's, in some cases you might not have an issue because you're just exploiting an opportunity. Like games, you typically don't solve an issue, you know, entertainment and so on, but you leverage an interest or a passion of something. So okay, that one is good as well. And then you mention what's a kind of like secret recipe, what makes your stuff cool or different than the 20 other, I don't know, the 20 other tourist guide services or whatever else you're doing. Yeah? I think if you do something like this one, you type it down, you can memorize it, so for you it's easy. If whoever asks, you can answer in 20 seconds, 30 seconds what you're doing, quick, simple. If then they're interested, you can talk more about it. Maybe we'll ask you tomorrow if you're around. Okay, let's talk about the customer development. So, good winner? 12?
You mean what? Yes, I think so.
So 1 hour
We have
45
like,
minutes. Cool.
yeah, I'll check that.
So the main idea was to talk today about what are the key philosophies or the key ideas behind running a cool way startups so that it becomes quick and efficient or fastest way to have success in the most efficient way. And actually, I think that most of the theory comes from Eric Ries, but actually it's Steve Blank that has been putting together the whole thinking and actually the message behind it. Do you guys, who knows who is Steve Blank? Hands up.
Not personal.
Actually, Steve Blank was here, not in Kazan, but he was in Moscow even last year.
Is that business model from Steve Blank?
Actually, no. That's from Eric Ries. So Steve Blank developed this concept about all these things, and then he's teaching at the Stanford University. But then, when teaching, he got in contact with a number of people who helped him to develop further his ideas. One of the people who helped him to develop his ideas is Eric Ries, who wrote a book for his thesis based, starting from Steve Blank ideas and so on, and then published a book and cooperated together with Steve Blank about complementing what Steve is doing, and they help each other. So basically, Steve makes marketing for him, he makes money and gives some money to Steve. Steve actually is not, even if he teaches at Stanford University, he's not an academic. He's actually seen pretty bad by the other academics at Stanford University because he has no academic background. He's an entrepreneur who's been successful and decided that at his age, he doesn't want to spend any more time doing another successful startup. He did actually probably 20, 30 startups, of which 6 went to IPO, and he did $100 million IPOs a few times. So like, big stuff. So he decided that, okay, I'll help the world teaching. Strange enough, he's teaching and he's making a business out of it. Surprise, surprise. And I think that basically the academics in Stanford are a little, reserved about him. One, because he doesn't have the let's say, academic background. The other one, because he's making a lot of money out of it, more than the other professors as well. We're a little resented about that one. So we basically talk about around this guy, and actually, Alt University, where our campus is based, and actually where Startup Summit is based, that has a strategic cooperation with Stanford University. And one of the things that they do is actually that some of the professors from Stanford, they do visit Alt University on a regular basis. They arranged their big conference last year called RAE, around innovations. And all the professors working into the innovation center there, they do visit Alt University once in a while. So Steve Blank was there, has been teaching at Alt University for a while. We had a number of other professors there. One of them was there 2 months ago. He was actually coaching at Startup Sauna and at our campus. So, speed up a little. Steve Blank starts to say that you can do business or new business a number of different ways. So you can classify them in, so he created kind of like taxonomy or let's say classification of different types of new startups or businesses. So he says that it can be lifestyle business, small businesses, scalable startups, viable startup that is a variant of the scalable startup, large companies, and social startups. And then he goes to explain which one is different from the other, how they are, and actually it then zeroes on the one he focuses on as the traditional startup as meant when you go and talk to people in Silicon Valley, and the one that typically the VC industry focuses on. And so basically, he's saying that the lifestyle business is more like you do your business to live, to eat. So let's say that Olga likes to surf, and that's her passion of the life. So basically, she doesn't care about anything else but surfing. So her lifestyle business is basically she has a little hut on the beach. She does yoga in the morning, and then she goes surfing as soon as she finishes yoga. She spends the whole day doing that. When she runs out of money, that she has no money to buy a new board or food, she does lessons to teach. Yeah, she does lessons to teach surfing to tourists coming there or to friends or whatever. They pay her for that one. But the main idea is that she's not doing that one to become rich. She's doing that one to enable her to follow her passion, that is to surf. Say again? With a little grass, maybe. Interesting. Yeah, so kind of lifestyle business, the driver is your passion, not to make a business out of it, not to make money. Right? And the time you spend on that one is related to reaching this survival. Then there is the small business that actually is more what is classic from in that part of Italy where I come from. That basically they take a classic family business. You have a business of a few people, typically small, so it's kind of like single entrepreneur or a few small group, 5, 10 people. And what you do is that basically you do a business that you grow it until you can live happily on that one, but you're not trying to grow it on a global scale and then to dominate the market. You do it to live happily, so you keep on growing until it makes you wealthy and your family wealthy, and that's it. And you're not doing it to sell it, you own it, and actually maybe the idea to sell it is kind of like the last things you can have in.
For example, little shop.
That could be one case, yes, exactly. A shop selling, I don't know, flowers. That could be something like that one, yes. And they're not there with the aim of dominating sales of flowers in the world. That's the idea. Then they talk about scalable startup. So the idea there is actually that you try to do a business that is tackling something in a way that can be scaled. So what it basically means is that once you found the right way to do the business, you can keep on growing it almost indefinitely. And so if you have the right person with the attitude to dominate the world, you can keep on scaling up to a global domain. Like in something web, they can grow as long as they basically almost everybody in the world in theory. That's the idea. And then you have people behind it that are actually aim to do that. Because you could even have something like that one, but you don't want to scale it. Just do it in Kazan or in Kazakhstan or in Russia. So that's the idea between scalable business. The Bible startups, and actually the final thing behind the scalable business typically is that your aim as an entrepreneur is the one to grow it as big as possible, and then sell it on the market. So like, make an IPO, become a public company. And the Bible business or the Bible startup is a subset of those ones. They did it because you cannot grow them much to become quoted on the stock market, or because you want to stop before and move to the next, because you like to shape it rather than to grow it indefinitely. And you sell it to another company, typically a big company that is established, or a bigger startup that is growing quickly and wants to acquire competence in the area or resources. So basically, you do it, and then the end result is that you sell your business to another business, rather than selling to them. They're already big, like, I don't know, the Russian railway, or post office, or I don't know, even Nokia from that point of view that I was working in. So. And then the social startup are more like, non-profit organization, like WWF or so on. So the aim of those startups is actually to do not for economical profit, but for the social impact. So all they do it, they raise funds, they generate revenues, but the idea is that so that they can cover costs and maybe operate on a bigger scale, so have a bigger impact, but not for economical purpose. That's okay as well.
Wikipedia is Wikipedia social
but not now.
What do other people think? Is it Wikipedia a social startup?
Maybe, yeah.
They don't do any money.
Sorry?
I think
They don't do any money.
But donation is kind of
Money to
business model too, right? If
Could
they
they-
ask for donation.
Could they sell Wikipedia?
Yeah, I think so.
Put the quarter in the market. Yeah, I think that's the key issue. I think as of now, it's a social startup. But if they would find a way to monetize directly or indirectly, good enough, then they could easily be big enough to be sold to another company or to become, quoted on the stock market. So it depends. I think at the moment I would probably classify more as a social, but their number has been shaped and run to be actually startups from the traditional point of view. So interesting to see how it develops. But it's interesting, there are some cases it's kind of like multiple sides. For instance, Linus Torvalds, Finn guy, he created Linux as a non-for-profit, as a social startup. But actually Red Hat makes a lot of money out of it. And so it depends. You can look at different perspectives. Things can change from time to time depending on who is leading that one, what they try to achieve, what they want to do. Okay, then a little about what is the core, one of the core messages of Steve. He basically says that fine, you can develop a cool technology, but the technology itself, so what? It's not the technology that brings value. It's actually the way you use the technology that generates value. But to generate value from a technology or from whichever solution you come up with is actually the people behind it. So what it basically says is actually that it's the team that makes the difference. The one and most important thing in a startup is actually is the team. And actually that's why as well, when you present to someone, especially investors, if you don't talk about a team, or when you talk about a team, you show 3 names and that's it. That's suicide. Because you are losing the opportunity to explain them why is your team the best, the one who can make your idea become a reality better than anyone else. And if not, maybe you need to fix your team. Because someone else might be doing better and faster than you. So investors will tend to pick the one who gives the best chances to execute. So that was one of the key things about the team. And not the technology, the key thing. The other message that he gives, and actually the reason why why he makes a business out of it, is actually he thinks that a successful startup is not just by magic, but is by decisions. And actually, his theory is that you can teach how to do a successful startup, or more likely to succeed startup. And that's why he does his courses and his books and blah, 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 and makes a business out of it. So basically he says that you can learn ideas and methodologies and approaches that can help you to speed up or to be more successful or increase the chances to be successful. So it's not by magic or it's not by, let's say, God blessing or by talent. It can be learned like you can learn to ski, drive, do math, and so on. And another key topics that he mentions that there is a fundamental difference between young startups and established companies. So basically, the established companies are entities that have already been able to find a good way to do business. They just need to repeat their business again and again, eventually on a bigger scale and eventually more efficiently. So with less people or with a little better output. So the focus is basically on maintaining and on becoming a little more efficient. Versus the young startups, the key thing is actually you have an idea, but you don't know how to do it economically viable and scalable. So the key scope of a startup is actually to find the way to tweak your initial ideas until they become scalable and economically viable. So what he basically says is that you need to shape your startup so that you have the most likely chances as quickly as possible to search and find this way to do business in a viable way. So it's more like an organization that is searching and trying until you find the right way. And then you start to improve it a little further. So basically he says the startup is a temporary organization that is there to search for a scalable way and repeatable way to do business. And then is actually one of the things that he really loves, and he really throws a lot of shit to the classic way of teaching to do startups before, that it was the one of doing business models. He basically says that business models are total crap, and it's a waste of time to write, 10, 20, 100 pages business models and business plans. Because it basically says, when you start, you don't know how to do your business properly, you need to search for it. So the more time you spend in documenting something you don't know, the more time you're wasting in actually trying to do the business and find a way to do business properly. And that one is pretty interesting because actually until he started to communicate his trend and ideas to the whole world, the classic model was to do a business plan. You were sending business plan to the VC and you were doing business plan competition. And basically he came and said like, screw a business plan, it's a waste of time. A lot of useless paper. And so he basically says that it's okay to document, but don't waste endless time on doing business plans. Rather go and find the right way to do it, to find the right way to do your business. And what he says is basically, the proof point is when you talk to your customers. And he pushes the teams to go and talk to the customers as early as possible, as frequently as possible. Because that's the point where you get the answer, whether what you're trying to do makes sense or not, whether they're interested in what you offer, and whether they're ready to pay for that. And so, to do that one, basically then he started to work together with Eric Ries and his model. So what he basically did is that actually he started to use his template to explain about how you divide your business in a model, and then you work on each single block to document, to be able to discuss with others, and to look at different options, and to explore the different options until you find the right one. So what you start to say is that actually the first block you look is the customer segment. So who are your customers? So for instance, what do you focus on?
Our customers, kids and his parents. Kids for use our services, parents for pay.
Cool. Let's be a little more specific. Kids, which age range?
Which age 6 to 12. Parents is mothers and fathers.
Good. Yeah. That one is typically any age, as long as they pay attention to the kids. Yeah. And which language or which geographies?
But now it is Russia, China, and Europe.
Cool. Which income range? Are you targeting rich people, normal people, or poor people?
All people.
Is your toys going to be among the cheap or among the expensive ones?
Not very cheap, middle class.
Okay, now we're a little better. Good. Good. Do you need to have any prerequisite, like do they need a PC? Internet connection?
Yes.
Okay, so we're trying to refine a little more what is his idea. I would suggest, why don't you guys, unless you have already done it, why don't you guys take a piece of paper and write down who are your target customers? Yeah? You have pens or you need pens?
I think we need.
Okay, he's going.
Кому ручки нужны?
Да-да-да.
Ручки вам нужны?
Let's do it quick, so 2 minutes and then we can continue.
Paolo, I read about this system in a book by Oslo Wilder.
Yes.
Was he an original author, or you think that was Eric Ries and?
Actually, Alex Osterwalder, actually, he came and talked to us. Actually, he coached us at Startup Sauna. He basically listened to Steve Blank, and then he did his thesis developing this model. So he worked on this model to support the thinking, and then he did his thesis on this one. And the way he wrote the book is actually pretty cool. He basically crowdsourced the concept as a thesis project, involving quite a number of people who actually paid to be involved as well. And then he started, since Steve Blank liked this one, they started to cooperate more and more closely. So basically what happens is that Steve Blank and Alex are working together, and Steve used this template as a model to support discussion for his ideas.
So what kind of projects? You said he put some projects on the outsource? Like what kind of projects? I mean, Alex.
So basically, after listening to Steve Blank lessons, Alex decided to do the thesis on modeling startups. And what are the drivers, what are the reasons, and so on. So he leveraged all of Steve Blank ideas. But then the key thing he added value was to actually do the model. So kind of like draw boxes that you classify what are the key steps. And so the project he did was his thesis, and write the book around the ideas he developed on his thesis. And the way he did the project was actually crowdsourcing as well. So involved quite a number of people. And actually, the thesis itself was not really crowdsourced, but the book that was an evolution of the thesis was crowdsourced. So he crowdsourced content, money, ideas, and validation with startups and with consulting companies, and then published the book. There were a couple of versions of the book after that.
So he made other startups write the parts of the book.
Yes. He got entrepreneurs, lecturers, consulting companies, and so on participating to this one.
Nice.
Yes.
Cool. Thanks.
He's actually very good at lecturing, and he's actually nice on stage. Yeah, he's a cool guy. Yeah. I think it's 30. Are you guys all done? Cool. Yes. Okay, let's continue. So the main idea is we discussed, who are you targeting? Then he's saying that the other fundamental block is what's your product? What are you giving them? What do you want to offer them? And actually, more than just the physical or digital product is even what's the value they perceive. Because you can give something, but if they don't see value, they're not interested in it. So it's kind of like, what's your product / I would say value you're offering them, and for the target audience you have. And actually at that point it might be interesting because you might have just one target audience, like kids, or you might have two target audiences, for instance kids and parents. And actually even if you offer the same thing, in theory they could see slightly different values, the different target customers you have. Cool. And I think that normally you can document there with 2-3 bullet points or a little more, maybe grouped, depending whether you're focusing on one target audience or a little more than one. I'd suggest that, okay, what are your, I'm always hitting on you. Any other volunteer? Okay, this time we go with you. What are you offering? What's your value?
Our value for kids is Marabakity school. Spend time. Cool, spend time. But for parents, Marabaka value it is educate his kids. His kids more time doing real life. Spend in real life. Not in.
So basically, you offer, let's say, toys for kids to entertain them, but actually, so the value perceived by the kids is the entertainment part, but the value may be perceived by the parents is actually the education and actually the one to interact with the physical world. Good. Cool, guys. 1 minute for all of you to document if you don't have it already. And actually, maybe meanwhile you start to work, we discussed about the elevator pitch. If you notice, there is a little of alignment. This is who you target. I mean, this is your concept, okay, but this is who you target. And this is what, I mean, who you target and what you offer them. Oh, you have it. Oh, cool.
In Russia.
That's okay.
Exploring number of users.
You've done before.
Rapid growth.
Yeah. You've done support.
Well, not fair. It is fair. It's just faster. Get it there.
Yeah, you're using the old play level. Hold on. You done, guys? You have something? Cool. Okay, we can continue. So, the third block he starts to talk about then is actually it's your channels. So, how do you deliver your product or value proposition to your target audience? And actually, there are a number of ways. So, for instance, if you have a flower shop, your delivery channel is your store. That people walk in, look, buy, decide, you package, you get the money, and off you go, right? So that's the store. And for instance, for your web, for your online service, your channel is actually web, maybe direct, correct? Or if you have partners, you might have indirect because your website content was integrated by the web pages of a partner. But actually, for your physical product, maybe your delivery channel is the classic toy delivery chain, and you have toy stores. Good. What about you guys?
I think our channels is like just searching for customers by calling them. So we have a base of some customers of the companies who can be interested in our product. we just call them and ask if they interested in it. We can sell it.
No. What's your product?
You asked about product?
No, what's the product?
Our product is the system for the wholesale trading.
Good. How do you, so you sell it via the phone?
Yeah, we can also like email them, spam email, or just make in, I don't know. But the problem is
do
that
you sell directly all of them, or will you have partners to distribute and resell it and maintain?
yeah, I think we will have the partners to distribute in local places because it's a kind of local business. We need to have somebody in that location.
A representative that sells for you or distribute that sells, yes.
Yeah, I think.
And do they need to do customization, installation?
Now we're doing this, but in the future I think we'll make the system which can be easy to install, and even some customers who are not like talking with us directly, they can use our system to try, and then we can sell it to them, not directly like.
But I would say at the moment you have a direct channel that is for neighboring customers, right? And you sell to them and you deliver via phone, and you deliver the CD or the PC, whatever it is that you sold, and make it available. And then you might have an indirect channel later on that you have a set of distributors or representatives that sell and eventually install, configure, and maintain.
I think we can use both ways.
Yeah. So basically, you have two channels: a direct one and an indirect distributor.
And even like a SaaS solution, we can sell our system just through web.
Yeah, that's still the direct one.
It's a direct.
Yeah, so the direct one you can do it via phone or via web.
And
or
indirect
as well via fairs. You can include even communication channel, but I mean the key focus is normally on the distribution, how you distribute and how you deliver to your customer. Are we all done? Any doubt or someone with doubts? What about you? What's your distribution channel?
Website?
Where?
Google Play, App Store.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, actually, that's a valid point. Google Play, App Store, and the Windows Store, those are channels as well that you can use to deliver.
direct.
Direct channels, yes. Actually, they changed totally the distribution approach for mobile. Because before, you could only distribute typically via telecom operators. And they actually had a very, very strong control. Or there were value-added resellers like Jamba in Germany and so on that were competing with the operators but on their own, actually partly cooperating for the business. And they were the only two channels existing there. But now both channels, they lost a lot of power because actually, the mobile platforms, they have their own distribution channel. They're actually the strongest one at the moment. I mean, basically everybody you download iOS apps from the store. You don't go to the operator.
Viral?
Sorry?
Viral.
Viral is actually a methodology to deliver, but it could be a channel. It depends. I would say not necessarily. It could be a method to share information, not necessarily to deliver the service. Depends on. We should look a little more carefully. Maybe I would say probably that's a way you deliver, but probably you'd still deliver via web probably.
The wire itself is everything over web or internet.
Yeah, so it's still web or store and so on.
so-
Yeah, it's more like how you make it happen, how you trigger it to happen.
Yeah.
I have a question. What we delivering, the value or the product? So if we're talking about value, it's like a mobile application, web application or website or something. If we talk about product, it's Google Play or I don't know, something which we use for sell product. It's different, I think.
I think that you typically focus on how you deliver your product. Yes. So you deliver via web, via Google Store, I mean Google Play or iOS Store and so on. Yeah. Or, you know, retail shop and so on. Cool. Then customer relationship. And actually here, this is one of the boxes that is different in the different version of the business model canvas. So there are, I think the latest version is slightly different, but you know, the main concept behind this one is that basically you build the model, you cut your business in pieces, and then you think about what it is, and then you iterate that one. So the way he interpreted this box in the early beginning was like, how do you manage your interface to your customers? So if they come at the shop, it's basically face-to-face in the shop. If it is via web, you might use your own website, or like she was saying earlier, you might use Facebook, Twitter, VK, whatever else to interact and to cooperate and to keep the communication. You know, suggest for upgrades or give them some interest to stay or capture feedback and so on. And you know, classic, you might have email as well. That's a pretty classic one. Or you have your blog and so on. Okay, 1 minute to document what's your chunk. Tell us.
Me?
Yeah. Your
What I
CRM.
have to tell?
Yeah.
About relationships.
Yeah.
I think for my project, the best way to make relationships is just email, blog, and some classic methods like maybe special events, offline events with.
Okay, face-to-face with events. Yeah. Yeah.
Like that.
That's good. Very good. Yeah, the others, for instance, don't do event at all, like never mention events. But it could be events like, you know, either they do have game fairs. Yes. And actually, when we go back thinking about you, who did you put in the distribution? What did you put?
From educational system.
Yeah, because you have the two parts. Yeah. But actually, I was thinking like, if you license, are those your customers? I mean, your end customers are the moms and kids, but your licensee, is it a customer or not?
Yes, it's customer as a complete segment.
Either it's one customer, or otherwise you consider them one of your distributors. Right, guys, let's speed up a little then. Think about that. The other, and actually this is one of the most important, is actually your revenue model. So how do you make money, if any? So basically, how do you charge your customer?
Just direct charge, or through web services they can. It depends on how do they find us, or how do we find them. So we can provide them different types of revenue streams.
Cool. Which is the key one, or the key two,
I
three
think
that you
it's
identified?
like a direct contract with the customer, and he pay us and for using our service.
Cool. And it's a one-off, or is it a monthly fee, yearly fee?
I think it's monthly. Yeah.
Okay.
So they use the service, they pay. If they don't want, they don't pay, and just that's all.
And is
we
there...
have one method. We can sell all the product for.
Yeah, like we can just sell it for the bigger amount, and they can use it all the time. I think we can provide it, because some of them, they don't want to pay all the time. They just want to buy the product and use it. And in this case, we don't provide them any new features which we made. And if they like pay us monthly, they can have all the service, and if we have new features, they can get it.
Okay, good. Yeah, you typically try to focus on one or two business models. And for instance, direct charging and then monthly fee or yearly fee. Or direct charges, upfront fee, to purchase rather than to have a service fee. Yeah, that could be something.
Yeah.
And another question would be, if you have a service fee, is that based on the number of transactions they do? Is that based on the number of users? Or is it based on the features they use or not? What is the driver there?
Number of these agents who are actually applications.
So it's volume based on...
Yeah. On number of applications that company had.
And for other things, for instance, for him, it could be very different because he has, for the online website and online content, it's actually free. Correct? And then eventually you might have a premium one. I don't know whether there would be subscriptions or transaction based. Like they buy the...
For example,
yeah?
we are aiming at these comic books and applications for sale.
I have one idea for you. Do you know the oatmeal blog? He sells some special paper. He makes comics, fun comics, and he sells posters, yes, on paper for customers, and I think you can.
Yes, we know. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think so. Basically, what I normally do is that, especially if you are in the very early stages, you don't know which is the right model. So the main idea here is that you document which is the first or the top two or the top three you think more realistic. And if it's direct or indirect, indirect is classic ads. You don't charge any customers, but you monetize the traffic with the advertisement display. So you list the top two, three you think, and then the work will be to validate whether that makes sense or not, eventually even with a price point once you validate that's the right model. And so direct, indirect, and then is it the service fee, is it one-off, is it monthly, yearly, whatever was the price point, and is it a fixed or is it driven by certain criteria like volume, features, whatever else. And that's one key thing because basically it relates to how much value you can deliver to the target audience. And if the answer is zero, okay, the question would be, do you have anybody, can you finance it as long as needed? Or do you have anybody keen to finance it as long as needed? Because maybe they see potential value in different ways. Or if not, does it make sense to do that kind of business if there's no reasonable way to monetize it forever? Because typically you do a business to be successful, then in a classic, let's say Silicon Valley startup approach, you make a startup to make money. And to make money, you need to make revenues so that you can sell the company at a high price or go public. So if you don't have a realistic way to make revenues, what's the point in doing the startup?
And nobody buys it.
Correct. Unless they see a value that you don't see, but there is just hidden. Cool.
Or it's not hidden, but you just don't use it now. And like Wikipedia, I think it's a really good value.
Yeah.
And really big, they can make a really big money from this, but they just don't use it for now. I think it's like their position.
Yes.
Right? But if somebody buys Wikipedia, I think he can make a lot of money from this.
Potentially, yes, with some changes if they want to, or if they want to sell. And actually, that's the interesting thing. In different markets, you have different acceptance levels to take risk and to engage in business who still don't have a way of doing money. So, for instance, in US, there are startups who are pretty big and still don't make money. I mean, Twitter until a little ago didn't make it a dime. but they were investors that saw the value in building the community and growing so quickly all over the world, and potential monetization ways later on. So they dared to give plenty of money to those guys to grow as quickly as possible for long. And then eventually they started to monetize. Facebook was the same. At the beginning, it had zero monetization, but everybody was keen on supporting them with actually plenty of money because they saw potential value later on because of the value of the community engagement there. But actually, in Italy, for instance, very unlikely to give you more than a couple of thousand euros first round, but very likely that they'll give you more money later on unless you find a reasonable way to monetize. Even if you don't make a lot of money, but you prove that there is a way to monetize, that maybe scales that become relevant only when you become very big. So each market has a different propension to taking risk for cases that have or don't have a monetization, a clear monetization up front. If you have monetization, of course, it's always better than not to have it, in general. Okay, the other thing is actually, is like key resources. I think typically when we do, especially with our teams, we focus more on this side than the other one, because we try to clarify, especially the key points that actually who you're targeting, what you offer them, how you reach them, and how you monetize. But there are a number of other elements that it's more like, okay, how do you make everything happen? One of those is actually key resources. So what are the key elements and key ingredients to make sure you can actually deliver via this channel to these guys what you want to give them, and monetize that way.
Or maybe major risk.
Sorry?
Major risk.
No, resources more like you need R&D competence to code, or to deal with cases. You need marketing resources. You need I don't know, some.
We have investors who have toy manufacturing in China, for example.
Exactly. For instance, manufacturing capabilities for toys or plant, that's one of the resources you might need if you do toys.
Maybe a team which have needed expertise.
Yeah. I mean, money or people are the key things there, but you might have a number of one depending on whichever is your business there. And actually, key activities more like what are the key efforts you need to do to make it happen. So for instance, in his case, developing the website is one thing, developing the comics content is another one, developing the actual toys, so the R&D for the toy would be one more of these ones. Developing, actually producing the toy is an additional one that maybe he doesn't do directly, he let the partners do, but this is one more activity. For web services, you typically have classic activities like the R&D one, then you have the sales activities, you might have the customer service, customization, you name it. And actually, on this one, we can move a little quickly. You can do it on your own later and so on, otherwise we run out of time. But have you all done at least product and value, target audience, channels, and revenues? Or do you guys still need to do something about revenue, for instance? Got it. Yeah. You done?
No, I did.
You did all. Which one?
I have a
All? You got, did you document at least these ones? Good. All right, and we can move. The key partner is actually one more interesting thing. So for instance, is he mentioned that like manufacturing capability is a key thing. So if you decide to build your own factory, your own shop, workshop, you don't need. But if you don't decide to do that one, maybe because it's smart when you're small, that you don't invest a lot of money there because maybe you don't have it and you just agree with someone to manufacture it for you, then a manufacturing partner is a key thing. Or, for instance, if you do language translation, you use Google as your source for the translations, then in that case, Google is your key partner. You know, or Skype, yeah, whatever, or whoever you use, but whoever provides the key technology you're using is a key partner. Might be not on a formal basis because maybe you don't need to have a contract with them or you just use the web one, but that's a key one.
Why not key resource?
Sorry?
Why Google for them key partner but not key resource?
That's a good point. I think that case by case it depends whether, are we talking about a legal entity that you interact with, or are you talking to something that you in-source, like you buy, you consume, and so on?
But
so, you know, what's the difference between a partner that is typically a physical person or a legal entity versus
they not
a resource?
communicate to Google directly. They're just using them technology.
Yeah, so Google is the partner. I would say Google Voice Service would be the resource that they use. But the legal entity is Google. Maybe Google Russia versus Google Inc.
This is normal without no key partners.
Maybe.
Is it like, can we count the producer of devices as a partner, right? We cannot like think that it's a partner because we not use them directly.
Which devices, sorry?
Like we produce the mobile applications.
Yes.
And can we count the partners that the producer of these mobile devices?
Depends. Would you be able to, do you think that you could cooperate with them maybe for distribution so that they preload?
It's just to make some money, I think, like to help these producers to sell their devices.
So if you would do it, if they are not interested, no, but if you would do it that way, yes, that could be a partner. Or maybe the telecom operator, if they do the same, if they put it, if they sell your thing together with the device at the retail, maybe that could be. And then you have one more channel that is actually for retail. So yes, depends. And final thing, and now it gets more interesting after this, is that basically, what's your cost structure? So if you produce this stuff, delivering this way to those people, maybe this is the way you monetize, using these resources to do these things, and maybe you leverage those partners, then it's like, okay, what does it cost you to do all this? So what are your, and I would say not just the cost like, 10 euros or 100 rubles or whatever, but your cost structure. So what are the drivers behind it? So for instance, to create the website, we have R&D resources, and it's like, they spend so many days creating and updating the website. So your web R&D is one of the costs, and it's basically linked to the headcount. So many days that they work on that one, right? Then I think that probably the same goes for your toys R&D. And then if you do it, and then as well as we have materials that you use to build the prototypes and to test them. Correct? And then third one you would have basically, if you do the comics, is
time of work of illustration.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, typically that's one of the common ones, but you could have even physical goods, you could have a number of other things. You might have even distribution cost, maybe. For instance, maybe if you use a telecom operator to sell it, maybe they want a part of it, so they want 10%. Or actually,
No, I think we can make money from this.
Yes, but do you get the same money as if you do it directly or less?
I think
typically when you have a partner selling for you.
For what do we need this telecom operator?
I don't know.
As a
for
partner.
example, yeah.
I think we better need they, not them, but I don't know. Зачем нам телефон?
Просто без них мы не сможем осуществлять.
Они позволяют расширить захват, быстрее продавать большему количеству. Но
Нет,
Без них вообще не смогут работать.
We just use it and like, okay, we can
it's
provide.
necessary
Yeah.
for provide our service, but
Yeah, okay. Then maybe you just make money. That's good. But you
Yeah,
know, typically when you have so your case might be exactly that one. Yeah.
The telecom operators can just
Pay them back a little margin, depending on what is the cool. So I think cool. We got together all the bits and pieces of your model, and actually the interesting thing is what it says that actually it's a model. So especially if you're at the very beginning, you took assumptions on what you think is right, and you documented that. So it's good, and it's easy to share it with the others in the team, or when you go and talk to a potential partner, customer, distributors, and so on, or investor, to explain how you think is going to be your model in a structured way with blocks. At each block, you can quickly, easily explain what it is. But actually, if you are at the early stages, what it is actually that it's a model. We don't know whether it's right or wrong, whether it works or not, and whether that would be the best way or not. And actually, you see, Alex Ostelwarder, that is the one who created the book that used this model. Literally, this was the previous version. But the key thing is actually that we don't know whether it's right or wrong until you test it. So the key thing is that you need to test it, and actually you want to test it as quickly as possible. And if it's not true, you need to go back, rethink about it, and find a better way, and then you go back and test it again. So, and actually, I think you've been looking at this one, and actually they love it here as well. The main idea is actually that, Steve Blank wrote a couple of books. This is the latest one. And the main idea here is actually that he gives a lot of thinking, a lot of examples as well on how you start from ideas or hypotheses, he says, and what is the smartest, quickest way to validate whether right or wrong, and keep on doing this one again and again until you find the right ones that are really true, and you replace your assumptions or hypotheses with real facts. So what he basically says, and that's the other core thing behind the Steve Blank model or approach, is actually he says that at the beginning you start and you take some assumptions. Then you go out and validate those assumptions. And you keep redoing it and eventually change totally idea, and you go back to the beginning of the drawing board until you find the right way. Until you reach the point, he basically says that it's nonsense to spend money to grow your business. He basically says you should be the founders, maybe a little more, but you shouldn't grow the team to do a lot of stuff. You should keep it as small, as lean as possible, so you can test and change and tune as quickly as possible. So if you have 50 people developing, it's going to take ages to change everything again because you got the wrong model or it was the wrong pricing.
But to test, you need to have a product to test it.
Wrong.
And you have to develop this product.
No, you develop product.
That's why you need some people.
You just need prototype.
Oh, good. Any other better idea?
yeah, first of all, you need to test an idea, to talk with people, to ask them, do they want to buy your future product
But
or
it's not the
use
exact testing.
It's
you need the product to test.
Right and wrong, I would say good. We got a very fundamental point. So basically, he says it's a sin to waste money scaling and to waste money to invest in developing heavily until you've proven your case properly. So basically, don't build sales, don't build marketing organization and support organization until you've proven that it's the right product to the right audience that you can really monetize in a meaningful way. Better than what are your cost structures, so you can make a business out of it. But actually, what he's saying as well, that the founders should be the one to do their job, to find the right way and their fund. It's useless to recruit people and people and people to delegate and to let them do it. Because they don't have it, that if you hire a salesperson, if you're a real salesperson, he can sell. You tell him what to sell, at what price, to who, he goes and sells to his mom and everybody else. He's not the right person to find the right way to sell. So you need to do it as an entrepreneur. But what he's even saying is actually that, and we find it maybe a little later, but to test your hypothesis, you don't need to have the full product developed with 50 people for 2 years.
Yeah, but small, you need the small one, right? So
okay, but
it's
how
good
small?
if you are a programmer. So if you're a founder and you're a programmer, you can do it by yourself, the small one, prototype.
Yeah.
And then you can test it. But if you're not programmer, like you need some money to do even the prototype.
Yeah. Okay, 1, 2 people, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
like, there's a difference between having a team of 2, 3, 5 people and having a team of 50 people.
Yeah.
And what he's saying is like, no 50 people, you need to be as a
Okay, so
entrepreneur, as
3
a
people
founder,
is enough.
2, 3, 5, I don't know, depends on the case, but I mean, like,
You
he's basically
must
saying,
find 2 workers and promise.
don't delegate core things when you're trying to find the right way to do things.
Yeah.
And don't wait the excuse to have the full ready product to be able to test. You can test much further, much better, much faster, much cheaper. So you can develop quicker. What you can do is that instead of having the final product, you guys said it, you can have a unfinished, minimum product, so the minimum viable product. That's the key thing. But actually, some of you even said you can have a prototype. So even before it's commercially sellable, you can have people testing a subset of it. Maybe the key things to validate whether they see value, at least some, whether they're interested in it, and whether they prefer to others, and whether they would be ready to pay for it the way you thought would be valued.
Стоит ли тестировать модель монетизации? Делать это параллельно или последовательно? Я не знаю, что до этого прыгал разговаривать. Мне интересует этот вопрос.
Yes. What?
Interesting question.
Is there a need to test monetization model? Is it going to be parallel or after prototype? How
Или последовательно, да? То есть
Why wait?
Почему ждать?
Step by step.
Нет,
Why wait? No, why wait?
Чего ждать?
What's preventing you from testing early?
Что тебе мешает тестировать раньше?
Ты не мешай. Я поэтому и говорю, как лучше делать? Параллельно или последовательно?
How to do
Да?
it? So nothing
Simultaneously or step by step? How should you approach that problem?
Никто не может
I think parallel, because in mobile games,
yes,
we have any type of open purchases. You can buy $1. В общем, в играх всегда много видов монетизации. Например, ты можешь что-нибудь за $1 купить, за 2, за 3 или за 15 или там 50. И как показывает практика, люди покупают не за $1 $1, да? А сразу за 2 или за 5. А некоторые покупают там вообще за много денег.
Нет, вопрос в том, что...
И это сразу параллельно. Просто если ты будешь вводить монетизацию сначала $1, потом посмотришь, вроде покупают, и введешь 2, за 2 никто не будет.
Окей, вопрос, да? То есть у тебя один продукт, да? Ну, то есть, условно говоря, можно продублировать, сделать такой же продукт, грубо говоря, и... Нет, почему обман?
На разных рынках.
Ну, на разных аудиториях, конечно. Когда ты будешь тестировать...
Даже не рынки.
Ну, на разных просто аудиториях, да? На разный канал ты будешь сливать разные цены. Я понимаю, но может быть
Если ты value даешь, они будут готовы больше платить. Вот ты должен прежде всего о value заботиться, о том, что эта ценность должен быть.
Я согласен, но над ценностью мы тоже работаем постоянно. Да? То есть если ты заливаешь продукт, ты получаешь фидбэк, да, и ты опять его дорабатываешь, вот эту свою value, которую ты говоришь. Страшное слово.
Когда ты
ценность, ты постоянно над ней работаешь, правильно?
Понимаешь, в чем ценность? Ты должен понять, что ты правильно
Interesting discussion. You can continue later. But I mean, there are different cases. In some cases it's easy to do it, in some cases impossible. For instance, if you're developing a medicine, you can ask and you can validate even talking, what is supposed to be deliver your medicine. But the proof point is when you really have the medicine, you see the result. Okay. But in most of cases, especially when you talk about IT, you can go and talk and check things, including the interest and including the price point or the sensitivity to price, even when you don't have the product. You go and talk to a sample of potential target customers. You tell them what you're proposing, what you're planning to have. Maybe you show them mock-ups. You explain how it would work. You tell them how you would charge and how much you would charge. And then you can see whether to say, yes, I'm interested, or no, I'm not interested.
And why?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can ask about some.
But I think some big IT companies can't prove their model just with talking. For example, Facebook or Twitter, if they talked to customers before build a project, I think they can't prove these models for them.
True, but you can still go around and say, hey, if I do a website sharing your info, would you use it or not? But I think that in that case, the viral aspect of being able to find someone to getting laid, that was the key thing there. That maybe was not known at the beginning. But what they did is actually they did a minimalistic thing, and they started to test it. So they didn't build the full Facebook before launching it.
But
So if
they
you
need, they need real prototype.
One meeting, please. Okay. So
if you ask your customers and they say it's cool, you can't try it.
well, I think that if they say not cool, that doesn't even mean that you need to throw away everything. But if 20%, 30%, 50% you want to talk to say it's interesting, I'm interested, then maybe you're on the right direction.
You can ask them, what will you buy in this direction?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are a number of ways to test. But the key message here is that you need to test as early as possible. It's crap the idea that you need to have the finished product to start testing. You can start testing with an unfinished product. Maybe you cannot charge at the beginning. Maybe you have only part of the service. Maybe you can definitely start talking to your potential customers, even when you just have ideas and sketches or pen and paper drawing, and you just talk and check. Yeah, no problem on that one. And you can validate the level of interest, whether you have competitors or which ones are better or worse, if they're willing to pay and how much they're willing to pay or why not. And the other key thing he says is that actually when you do this, research for the right recipe, the founders are the key one that needs to do it. It's like you have assumptions, you go and talk to your potential customers even before you have the mobile product, you validate, and then you listen to the feedback and learning, and eventually you go back to the drawing board to do some tuning based on that one. Maybe not every day, but when you have a realistic feedback that most of the people tell you that no, this is not okay, or maybe they suggested something better. So testing is the key thing. And the other key thing he says is actually that most of the people, well, there is a tendency to go and try to sell your product. Like, okay, you want to use it? Yes, no. And it's more like, okay, tell them what you have in mind. Check the feedback. So listen to what is the comment and feedback rather than just trying to sell in and convince them to sell. Instead of telling them that you have the right product, like, what do they see, good or bad? And I think here it's more or less the same when you go back to the next step. So the discovery and then the validation, this step. You have your minimum viable product, you repeat, you go there, real case, check, is that okay or not? If not okay, repeat, improve, or go back to the drawing board again, and then keep on repeating. And I think that, the classic, take assumptions, go and check, analyze what they tell you, and then decide whether that's okay, or if it's not good enough, go back to the drawing board, repeat again and again until done. And actually the key thing is that he keeps on telling, go out of the door, go out of the building, because he says that until you do it on your own, you take assumptions, but there's no proof that your assumption is good. You need to talk to as many customers as possible, whichever possible way. So face-to-face, web, mobile, market research, whatever it is.
And what is your product kind of social? And you need more people to be in your system before you can properly test it. So how to involve people to your system?
Yeah, I think it basically means that you need a bigger use base to let the value come out of it, because Metcalfe effect, then the network size has a direct impact on the value. But you can test somehow even before just talking, even if you have 0 users there.
But like it's the first step, right, of testing. But the second step is to test your product, right?
Correct. Yeah, you keep on doing incrementally. Yes.
You can get information from your.
That's one thing.
But
the other thing is that it's
competitors.
strange to think, but maybe it's possible. But I think that the key thing is that as an entrepreneur, you will never have 100% certainty you're right until you've done it. So part of your entrepreneurial approach is to take risk. And how big is the risk and how ready you are or not, that depends on how smart or how much you like risk. It's kind of like, what's the right moment to push forward, whether to go back. That's expertise as an entrepreneur. And maybe quick thing is actually pivot. Basically, in American terminology, they like to talk about pivot. I don't know whether I like it really that much, but basically the main idea is that you thought something, you tested, you go and build something, you validate with your customers, then realize not everything perfect, you go back to the drawing board. They call it pivot. Actually, in some places, they like to talk or to brag that they've done a number of people looking for the right recipe. I don't think that actually per se is good or bad. It's good as long as it proves that you tried a few times and you found the right way. Just pivoting for the sake of having a pivot, that doesn't make sense. I think that we went through, but basically, again, like we say, you test this part with your customers, and that's the key thing to validate upfront. So that you can turn your initial hypothesis into, validated once, or you change until you find something that you can validate within a reasonable amount of time. We discussed the pivot, but I think that, the minimum viable product, you guys already spoke, so the minimum thing you can throw together to get someone to test it.
Yeah, so if we unite like 100 people to prove your idea in your system, how to get these 100 people just?
For instance, how many people there are in IT Park incubator?
But if you need some special people with special interests,
find communities and ask them to test your idea.
Yeah, it's like.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you the right answer for every possible case, but As an entrepreneur, you're there to solve. One of the tricks is to find the right audience.
If you want,
You find.
So, but yeah, basically, pivot or whatever you want to call it, but the time you spend to find the right way is critical. So the main thing is that basically, if it takes you, if you do a lot of development before you prove, so it takes you 1 year to develop your product, then you launch it, then you test it. Then you discover what's okay, what's not okay, and then you need to go back and change it and fix it and improve it. That's basically we talk about, you need to do it a couple of times, we talk about a 2-year cycle. If you have 5 people, 30,000, or 3 people, $30,000 a year,
You're lucky.
well, you're lucky if you find someone who gives you that money, or if you had in your pocket to finance that one. But if you can do it in 3 months, because instead of having the full product, you just have a basic prototype. And by the way, maybe you even, before building the prototype, when you started to think about what to do, you went out and spoke to people just face to face, talking about it, or maybe showing some drawing board or some sketches or some skeleton. That might help you to move faster. So instead of having 30,000 euros for 3 people for 2 years, you do the 2-3 cycles within 6 months. That's going to cost a fortune. So it increases your chances to success, or actually decreases your cost to find the right way, and increase your speed to be successful.
This is the shortest way to get revenue.
Oh, to be successful, yes. Revenue if you can already monetize up. But yeah, exactly. So, but the other key thing is actually, if you run out of money and you haven't proven your case, very unlikely someone will give you money further to continue. Okay, maybe if you're a good salesman and so on, yes. But the more you've been able to move quickly and to prove your cases, the more likely someone will be interested to finance it and to let you continue further.
So no money, not money, value.
Yeah. And final thing is that basically it says, okay, it makes sense to scale and to start to invest an incredible amount of money as quickly as possible once you've proven your case. So once you're confident that what you have in your hands is the right recipes, with the right channels, the right kind of set of product targeting the right audience, all you need to do is to, put more money so you can produce more, or market more, or sell more with more partners. Then in that case, you can ask for enormous amount of money, more than before, because people are ready to believe into that one eventually, and you dump it to scale your organization to increase sales and marketing quickly. So that you can, once you find the right way, you can grow your sales as quickly as possible. And you use data and so on.
Till that point, you're not startup, you're a business.
Yeah, eventually. Exactly. But basically, so the fundamental thing is it's not a linear thing. At the beginning, as little people as possible, you work as agile as possible, you test your hypothesis as quickly as possible. Once you find you're confident and you find the right way, then you can ask for a bigger amount of money to just grow what you've shaped. If you just do the little by little you grow, and you go out there and so on without having the right recipes, it might be less likely to succeed, or it might take longer, or it might let you fail. Cool. So that's like, scale your company, so basically build the sales, build the rest of the organization, like all your structures, salespeople, sales managers, directors, blah, blah, accounting, and whatever else you talk about. I would say that's it. So basically, you need to take assumptions and model, but until you've proven talking to your real customer, that's all assumptions.
Social стартап.
Yeah.
Если не очевидна модель монетизации, как в социальном стартапе, например. Так что же сделать с этим бизнес-канвасом, который мы только что нарисовали?
So again, if you have a, if you are one of these,
Yes.
yeah?
Ну,
So
for example.
he doesn't see
So-
the monetization model.
Okay, for instance, Wikipedia has a monetization model. It's just not commercially relevant to become a big business, but they do have. They work on free contribution and they work on donation. So they do have a box for the revenue that is actually people giving them money for free. So you can use the model even for social startups. That doesn't prevent you from thinking that you have different boxes and how you, what are your assumptions and validating those ones to make sure that someone is interested.
Первоначальная модель в любом случае это невозможно было. То есть там первоначальная возможность была на адекватно.
So that we couldn't do that, we don't see that model.
Sorry?
We couldn't see that model first steps to start up. Kind of hard to see the
Of the whole model or of the revenue? Well, I think I would look at it in two ways. If you think that it's a waste of time, don't do it. Maybe you have a smarter way to do it. Right?
Okay.
Well, no problem. I mean, I think that, no, that's a valid point. It's not that one needs to follow this one, otherwise fails. This is one way of looking at things that could potentially help to do less mistakes. But it's not the right recipe. It's not if you do this way you succeed, if you don't do this way you fail. And it's like when you cook and there's a recipe. You can follow it, you cannot follow it. Maybe if you don't follow it, do it even better.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question? Cool.
All clear.
My feedback as well is that I think it's not a bad idea to use it. I think that the key thing is that help you to think what are the key things and actually what are the things that you assume versus the things you validated with your real customer. The other one is that don't overthink it. I mean, like, it's a template, it's a model. It's valuable as long as it helps you to move better and faster. If you spend more time on this one than actually really doing things, then it is the wrong way.
But better to have some plan, what to do next. Next step, to come back to some structure.
Yes.
Your everything.
Exactly, yeah. Cool. Good, guys. It was interesting otherwise. Thanks for the interest and thanks for the question. Nice fun.
Thank you.
That was useful for you as well.